Blog Talk Radio.
Are you ready to take a bite out of the competition? Are you looking for ideas to make your business better? Welcome to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet,
sponsored by Apple Capital Group.
At the core of every successful business, you'll find people making a difference. And with each episode of the Core Business Show, we talk with those people, examine those ideas, and explore the strategies that make them special. Now, the host of the Core Business Show, Tim Jacquet.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Core Business Show. I'm Tim Jacquet, your host. Today I have the pleasure of having Jason Caston. He is an author of the iChurch method. If you'd like to join the conversation, please call in at 347-324-3460, or you can go ahead and post your question in the chat room, or go ahead and email us at info@thecorebusinessshow. We will be taking callers in the last 10 minutes of the show, which is 20 minutes from now. Jason, welcome to the program.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
Great. I guess to begin with, our listeners love personal stories on how authors came to be who they are. So if you don't mind sharing us tell us some things about yourself. How did you get started and where are you from?
Well, first and foremost, I'm from Chicago, Illinois. So I always like to start off with that because I love my city. And I left Chicago, moved to LA, and now I'm currently residing in Dallas. And the way I pretty much came to become the person that I am is once I left Chicago, went to LA, started working with a large ministry out there and helping them develop their web presence and websites and all that good stuff. And then I came out to Dallas, started working with TD Jakes Ministries and authored the book, The iChurch Method, based on taking about a week of what I do, a typical week, and just giving a good big brain dump into a book and helping ministries and small businesses be able to utilize technology the way we do at the ministry.
Wow. Well, that's really amazing. Tell us about, when you took the time to bring down all this information to a book. I mean, how long did it take you to write this book? And kind of tell us not to really outline, but tell us the story of the book itself and what it's all about.
Oh, absolutely. It took me about, I'd say, maybe 18 months to put this book together. And the reason it took a long time is originally I had the information and I had the strategy from back when I was out in LA working with the ministry out there. And the reason I was able to develop that strategy was when I got hired on the ministry, I was basically given the entire website, entire web presence of the ministry. And there was not anybody I really reported to. I didn't have anybody working with me. I was kind of like a one-man department that had to revamp this ministry's entire web presence. So I basically took the strategy of looked at all the areas that they needed help and started developing solutions for that. But I was documenting everything I was doing along the way, kind of like taking notes, not knowing that I was putting together the foundation for this book. And so as I continued to develop that strategy, when I got out to the TD Jakes Ministries out in Dallas, I just saw that this ministry, as great as I thought it was from the outside looking in, it is a great ministry. I saw that areas that I could get in, help with the technology. And so that's how I started putting the strategy together more and more. And so once I got to about, I was out here for about a year, I started seeing the book actually come together. And the only problem was I wrote in a very technical manner. So I had to get a good editor to help basically bring it down to more layman's terms and help people understand it easier and not write a strictly technical book. So I wrote a part technical book for tech geeks like myself, and I also wrote it from a strategic perspective for leadership and entrepreneurs and higher execs so that they can understand exactly why you should utilize the technology, and then you can turn around and hand it off to your tech person to actually implement the solution.
How do you strategize a media campaign for a church? TD Jakes Ministries is real successful in kind of having this strategy in place and marrying the website together, the social media. And I'm sure they have a lot of challenges on both ends because you're dealing with not only the church, you're dealing also with his ministry. Kind of tell us how you actually, as a regular smaller ministry or smaller church who's getting started, or one that's kind of a small to mid-sized church, how can they use some of these techniques to improve their market strategy?
Well, first, I believe that any ministry, whether a small or large or business as well, just have to understand that the technology that is being utilized is not overly expensive. So once that's understood and you get over from the outside looking in of how expensive it looks, you realize that you can utilize the same techniques that we're using here. basically we look at, from the ministry perspective, we're looking at how to, I'll use our social media strategy, for example. We're looking to inspire, inform, and communicate. So those are the main core things we're trying to do with our social media strategy. So with that, we're making sure that people are able to stay connected, and communicate with the ministry. We want to make sure we inspire them day in and day out. And then also there's a lot of information flowing from the ministry to the people where they're at, whatever social media network that they're on. So we're looking at the overall strategy of the ministry and using the core concepts that I put out in the book, which is website, e-commerce, social media, multimedia, mobile. We're just looking at how can we reach people with that technology. We don't have to use overly expensive solutions, but make it easy for the people to connect with us. And that's pretty much the focus that we have. What's innovative, what's easy to use, and what's most cost efficient for the ministry.
Wow. So in marrying these two plans together, because you have one ministry and also you have the church entity, how do you marry these items together to make them flow and to communicate properly?
Well, we make sure that mainly with the church, we focus on utilizing and reaching the local audience. So with our focus on that technology or whatever solution we're using, we're trying to reach within maybe 50 to 100 miles of the actual location of the church. So that's the main focus of the Potter's House. Now with TD Jakes Ministries, that's an international ministry. So we look to reach even further and utilize technology more so that we can reach the European and the African audience and just other continents. We're looking to reach all around the world with whatever the message is that Bishop is trying to get out. So that kind of helps expand what we're doing. So with that being stated, when you're looking at we'll take the, say, weekend service from the ministry, which is actually coming from the Potter's House, but we'll look at solutions that can stream it all around the world, whether it be on your mobile device, laptop, internet TV. We look for those types of solutions, and we put those under the ministry umbrella because of the international reach.
Do you have to do anything with different languages, French, Spanish, and German, or everything is always going to be in English that you guys produce?
Right now, we have English focus, but we are looking at translating our broadcast into more languages. I believe we do have a Spanish translation for it already, but of course, the larger our international audience grows, the more we have a need to translate. So that's a solution that we're looking into at the moment.
When you're dealing with a question, for example, every ministry or every board wants to say, how can we measure the return? Is it a place or a way that you can measure a return for this type of platform? Or you just have to think of you making deposits in the future that your ministry will grow from it?
Actually, you can look at a ROI when you're actually utilizing technology. For example, with online streaming or any type of media that we put out, you actually can have online donations. So if you want to financially quantify the efforts of your technology and your ministry, then you can utilize that. You can utilize the response you get from people, whether it be customer service type response or just people letting the ministry know how much it has helped them via technology. For example, with social media, we monitor our social media channels, and we get a lot of response via our social media channels. So that lets us know how well we're doing, or how we can do things better utilizing the channels that we use. So you do have a return ROI if you look at it from a strictly financial perspective. But of course, being a ministry, we want to look at it from how we impacting people's lives, how are we helping them become better people, how are we helping take the gospel even further around the globe. So we do have ways to measure that. And of course, with the approach that we take, we are very heavy on analytics and paying attention to, a lot of A/B testing and just looking at where our efforts are doing well, measuring that, retooling and refining it, and then trying it again.
Wow. These techniques, are they really, really difficult to kind of pick up? I mean, or within your book, some things are really easy, some things takes a little bit more time in order to set up. Like streaming,
I think that
takes some time.
Right. With streaming, the misconception is that everything appears that it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort. And I don't want to basically make it look like it's not difficult at times, because it is when problems do arise. But what I try and do with my book, as far as looking at all the things that we do with technology and the things you can do, is basically present it in the easiest way possible. So let's look at streaming, for example. With a ministry as large as Jason and other ministries that I've worked with, they do have custom streaming solutions that they pay quite a bit of money for. Now, for someone who's just starting out, or a smaller church or a small business or something like that, they can utilize free services like livestream.com or ustream.tv and have the same or have live streaming services for free or a fraction of the cost. So as long as the barrier that I see when I come across talking with churches or talking with businesses is not so much as they don't have the resources that they can use to meet these goals. They just don't have the knowledge of where these cost-efficient solutions are. So that's what I'm trying to educate them via the book and also at the class I teach at the Potter's House about the book.
Wow. What is the disadvantages of you using, for example, let's go streaming, using Ustream and Livestream versus another paid service that you have to pay?
Oh, of course. Well, anytime you use something for free, then you in turn become the product. You're susceptible to most often as ads. So if you're using Ustream or Livestream and you're using the free version, then they will overlay ads before they play your stream. They might play commercials or stuff like that. You can't control these ads. So if you're having a church service and they put an ad that's, questionable before your service, your viewers, they see that. You don't know what ads they're going to put up. They just tell you they're going to put up ads. So your viewers see that, and you don't know what type of response that could get from them. So that's the type of risk you take using a free service as opposed to a paid version. But of course, the usage of free services is just supposed to be your springboard to where you get the financial means to use a paid service. So you just start off there, but you don't stay there.
Okay. In your book itself, let's take a break real quick, and we're going to go and segue within your book. We'll be back in one moment to talk about the iChurch method. You listen to the Core Business Show.
You're listening to the Core Business Show, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. Apple Capital Group in Jacksonville, Florida, is a commercial lender that specializes in asset-based loans, equipment leasing and financing, invoice financing, commercial real estate loans, and asset-based financing in the U.S. and Canada. Apple Capital Group is a direct lender that lends on their private equity investment portfolio. 90% of most loans are decided within 2 hours, and vendor funding within 24 hours after documents are completed, with a one-page application. No slow no's, just a quick decision and a fast yes. To get more information about lending from Apple Capital Group, call 866-611-7457. That's 866-611-7457 to speak with one of our loan specialists. Or visit us right now at applecapitalgroup.com. Welcome back to the Core. Once again, here's Tim Jacquet.
We're talking to Jason Caston. We're talking about the iChurch method. So, Jason, and the purpose of your book, we talked about that as well, and you're really approaching 5 methods: website, multimedia, e-commerce, social media, and mobile. We just spent a few moments on the streaming, but kind of tell us, before we actually dive more into the book, tell us about these 5 methods: website, multimedia, e-commerce, social media, and mobile.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And first, let me say that the name the iChurch method came because I was utilizing it within working with the churches and the ministries that I was working with at the time. But the method is actually, it doesn't have to be for churches or just limited to that, because it's technology. And the technology doesn't matter what industry you apply it to, you can be utilized. It can be utilized effectively. But with the 5 steps that I took, I looked at first websites, and I'm looking at websites that are easy to use, that are engaging, and that people can get to wherever they want to get in 2 to 3 clicks. That's some of the first core things that I teach about websites. When we get up and talk about multimedia, we're talking about podcasting and interactive video and online video and streaming. And we get to e-commerce, we're talking about online stores, online donations, secure online transactions, and making people feel comfortable shopping from your online destination. And also with social media, engaging, connecting, information, inspiring, and ways to utilize great social media strategies. Because millions of people are utilizing social media. So that's why your ministry or business should be there, and not just be there broadcast, but make sure it's a two-way communication, because it is social. And then finally, we talk about mobile, and we know that mobile is the future of technology, and therefore also, a big part of the future of businesses and ministry. So I talk about how to utilize, create mobile websites, mobile apps, and to make sure that everything you think about when you're thinking about your online strategy you include mobile. Traditionally, we just think about how do I make a website for a computer, a laptop, desktop, and we think that mobile is the next step. But right now, mobile usage is increasing rapidly, so therefore you have to make sure that you include that as part of your core strategy and not just the extra add-on. And those are the 5 steps that we talk about.
Okay, so if we dive into look at the more detail, you go into the contents of your book, you kind of highlight certain things, talk strategy, and strategy is going to be the most important thing. Not only to utilize the book, you need to have a goal in mind on how you want to strategize this particular medium versus just putting it into place. Let's talk strategy. How should a person strategize, or a ministry or a church strategize in having this product?
Well, first and foremost, when they're coming up with their strategy, we usually look at the goal. Well, we start off with where we're at, and we look at the goal, and then we start working backwards from the goal. So when the church is coming up with a strategy as far as how they want to reach out and utilizing these 5 steps, we just tell them, where are you trying to get to? What is your ideal goal? And then we start working backwards from there. And therefore, as we start working backwards, we're looking at restrictions that they may say they have, such as staff or financial restrictions, and just looking at how we can utilize and get them the best strategy until they get to a point where they can increase their resources and start utilizing more solutions. So, for example, we'll say with the web strategy, we look at what is your content, that you're going to be pushing out to the website. What is the goal of the website? If you realize how important the website is for your ministry or your business, normally it will be the introduction to your business or ministry for 70 to 75% of new people that come. They'll see your website before they come and patronize your business or step foot inside your sanctuary. So we just look at stuff like that and try and help them understand the impact of the decisions that they're making, and not look at this as, here's another to-do list for the business or ministry. But no, this is actual tools that we're giving that will impact how you reach the masses and make a change.
Now, once you get there, I think one of the biggest challenges really with churches is, can I use my current staff and train someone to do this? Now, we have a lot of part-time people. Can I also, if I pull my part-time person, give them an additional 5 hours a week or 6 hours a week, can I train someone to do this and use your book as a guideline?
That's a good question. And what we tell them is, this book will help you, but we also want you to understand that you won't put a novice person that you just barely trained into the pulpit to preach, the message and have some type of impact. You want to make sure you have somebody that has this expertise, and this book will also help guide them and bring them to the goal line. So, for instance, if you have some type of technical expertise, then this book will enhance that. But if you don't have any technical expertise, then just look at the strategy part and find somebody who does have the technical expertise, and you can have a conversation with them and let them know, here's what you need based on what you read in the book, and they won't take advantage of you because you'll be able to participate in the conversation. But we don't want you to use this book and give it to somebody who doesn't have any technical expertise and expect this book to just, magically change everything, because it still has a technical side to it, and we're still talking about technical solutions. So we do want people to utilize people that have that expertise.
Should the person be, for example, some churches have multimedia, they have volunteer groups and they have paid groups. Should this be a paid position in your organization? Because it is a little bit more detailed.
Ideally, I would say yes, it should be a paid position, but it's not. I wouldn't say it exclusively has to be a paid position, because I was a volunteer at a small church when I first got started. I had the technical expertise to achieve the solutions that are in here. So if my church would have only limited to paid people, they might have overpaid a company to do the solutions that I was able to attain as a volunteer, because I love the church. Now, with that in mind, you don't want to continually depend on volunteers if their expertise and their technical expertise is not there. I had already demonstrated with my corporate job that technical expertise was what I love to do. And so that's what that my situation was unique in that manner. But I do want people to understand that if you have somebody, a volunteer that you trust and has the expertise to achieve this, then definitely utilize that resource. But if you just have somebody that's a volunteer and is adamant about the church but does not have the technical skills to achieve this, then you might want to put them elsewhere and look for a paid position of somebody that can utilize this stuff for you, because you get what you pay for.
Wow. We talk about that expertise. You have different levels, people with in the IT industry. You have web designers, you have network engineers, you have graphic artists. I know you want to try to gravitate to the graphic artists that more visionary, but is it a particular field in IT that this is really suited for?
Personally, I probably would say more along the lines of the web developer, web producer. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the web producer role, but that role that I've seen more recently is the person that's kind of more versatile as far as creating the website, being able to actually code it, but also have see some of the layout and aesthetic parts of it, being able to be versatile enough to jump over and do some of the e-commerce stuff and some of the mobile stuff. And then, of course, just normally the more technical people are adept in social media. So that's not something that usually we look for a specific social media technical developer. We usually find web people that have that expertise as well. So I believe this is more geared towards mostly the web producer, web developer, but of course all technical expertise should be able to pick up on this easily. And the reason I said that, that's what I was in corporate America before I stepped out and started writing and stuff like that. So that's why I chose that.
Okay. Talking about social media, kind of tell us about what effects with Twitter and Facebook and YouTube and all of this, Google Plus, how is that really affecting the iChurch method itself?
Well, social media is basically revamped and added a major component to the iChurch method. Social media in itself, just the way that it's exploding, has changed the way we utilize the internet, and as well as mobile. And just the fact that everything we do, we want to be social, but a lot of our decision-making skills are coming from based on what we see our friends like and what our social networks have to say about it. So with that being stated, with the iChurch method, we just want to make sure that people are able to engage and connect and understand how to effectively engage and connect, especially with ministries. With ministries, you already have a community, a social community that's built up around your core message, which is the gospel. So therefore, it only enhances the ministry when you start reaching out via social media and using social media tools to connect with your audience and grow your audience. The best part about social media that I'm seeing with ministries is it makes every ministry an international ministry. As normally a ministry, a storefront or a small ministry start off, they think that they can only impact their regional area or their immediate local area. But utilizing technology and social media, especially, they see that they have followers that are coming from all over the world, and therefore they become international ministries. And that's just the enhancement, the effect that we see. And that usually is sooner than later. That's not something that they have to wait 2 or 3 years to become that. As soon as you get one person following you from over the pond, then all of a sudden you become, an international ministry, and you have to respond accordingly.
Wow. So in a nutshell, before we ask you to read something in the book, tell us kind of in a nutshell about your particular book and how your readers will benefit.
Okay. Well, in a nutshell, this book, The iChurch Method, is...
We're going to take another break for a second. Kind of lost the connection. Let's take another station break real quick. We'll be back in a moment with Jason Caston. You listen to The Core Business Show. We'll be back in one moment.
You're listening to The Core Business Show, sponsored by Apple Capital Group. Apple Capital Group in Jacksonville, Florida, is a commercial lender that specializes in asset-based loans, equipment leasing and financing, invoice financing, commercial real estate loans, and asset-based financing in the U.S. and Canada. Apple Capital Group is a direct lender that lends on their private equity investment portfolio. 90% of most loans are decided within 2 hours, and vendor funding within 24 hours after documents are completed, with a one-page application. No slow no's, just a quick decision and a fast yes. To get more information about lending from Apple Capital Group, call 866-611-7457. That's 866-611-7457 to speak with one of our loan specialists. Or visit us right now at applecapitalgroup.com. Welcome back to The Core. Once again, here's Tim Jacquet.
Okay, we're back with Jason Caston. Okay, I'm sorry, Jason.
Oh, yeah, not a problem. Okay, so the main thing to sum this book up is this 5-part strategy, again, is not just limited to churches, but I focus on churches because that's the industry that I'm in and thriving in. But it's this 5-part strategy of websites, multimedia, e-commerce, social media, and mobile. This 5-part strategy will help you take your vision and your mission and your business and help enhance it with technology and help you be able to reach as many people as possible. And I just want people to understand that this is not something that where it has a high learning curve, because you'll see the concepts in here and the strategies in here are break them down so they're easy to learn, and that the solutions that I provide you, if they're not free, then they're low cost, so that I make them cost efficient. But yet these are still solutions that mega ministries and Fortune 500 companies use. It's just that I've been able to work with those organizations and find low cost solutions that I've been able to introduce to everybody.
Wow. If you don't mind, can I read something out of your book that really speaks to you and that you think the readers should be able to relate to out of the book?
Oh, okay. Let's see. What would be the best part? Okay, and let's talk about the two approaches that we take in this book. All right. So starting here, we're going to talk about strategy and the tech section. Now, starting with my big idea that the decision maker will read the first section of each part, and much like a cafeteria, select which pieces of the iChurch fit their strategy. Each of these sections is called Let's Talk Strategy. At the end of the Let's Talk Strategy section, I have recapped the strategy choices by listing them all out. This list is called What I Want for My iChurch. My hope is that you, decision maker, will copy that page and highlight the items you want for your iChurch, and then hand it off for implementation to the technical person, who happens to be my second audience. For the techie, I have written the second part of each part called Let's Talk Tech. This is written with programming language and code that an average technical person can handle. No doubt there are some decision makers who will have the skills necessary to accomplish some of the technical items. For those folks, they have the good fortune of being able to read and understand the entire book. So before you start reading, classify yourself as a strategy person or a techie person, and then get started in the appropriate section.
Wow. You're a staff member of your church, and you're trying to tell your board that, hey, we need to walk in the 21st century. We can't do things by pen and paper anymore. We have a different audience we need to attract. Our congregation is in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and we need to go beyond that. What advice do you have for a staff member or a person at church can kind of tell their church, hey, we need to take a look at the iChurch method. We need to move into the 21st century. We have these conversations in churches all across the country, small and large, even some large ministries the same way.
Right.
What advice would you give to that person? Yeah, how to talk to their pastor who might not understand what that is. I mean, they barely understand the internet. They just heard it.
I think that what I would tell them to do is, first, the same thing I kind of had to do with T.D. Jakes Ministries, is originally when we started off with the social media, and I had to actually go out and do it. I mean, I got permission, but I had to go out and start some of the social media solutions that we had prior to the ministry getting fully on board. So I would tell, if I was talking to somebody and they said, my ministry is having trouble adopting technology, then I would say, find something that you can champion, whether it be a website or a Facebook fan page or something you can champion to start showing them results. So if you did a website for the ministry, then I would say, try and start champion a website utilizing the iChurch method and the strategies and techniques that I mentioned in there. And then make sure you measure it so that you can show these successes to the pastors and the decision makers. Personally, I had to start off with the Facebook fan page. And when we started to get thousands and thousands of people responding via these social media channels, then the ministry started to take notice, and that's how it started to grow. But prior to that, people are putting their resources towards what they're used to seeing results from, and they are not necessarily interested in trying new things. So you have to show them that this is an effective way, and then and once you bring those results to the decision makers, then they'll be able to make much more informed decisions. But I don't fault churches for making decisions based on the limited information that they have. We just need to find people like myself and champions inside the ministry that are able to help bring new information, fresh information, and solid information to the ministry of how technology can change and help them become an international presence as opposed to a limited, dying presence of what they used to do in the past.
Wow. It's kind of ironic, talk about this large ministry of the Potter's House and the T.D. Jakes Ministries. I guess they, like any organization, they like to go with safe and secure than versus taking something that's unknown and unproven. And there are.
True. That's how they were, but not now. It's much more dynamic and there's new ideas, which is part of my role. What is new coming down the line, and how can I make sure the ministry is there? That's my role now in 2012. But 2010, I had just gotten there. So I wasn't proven. The techniques I was mentioning weren't yet proven. So I had to find something and champion that. But now, if I come in there and say, I believe internet TV is going to be the next greatest thing, which I did present to them, that's where we're going next. And so now I have the backing of the ministry to just go out, figure it out, bring it to us and tell us how it'll work, and we'll do it.
Well said. And you teach this class at the Potter's House in Dallas, Texas, a couple times a year, or I know you had it this early spring or the second semester, but also you're teaching it again this fall?
Yes, I am teaching it again this fall, and I believe the class starts on Tuesday, September 11th at 7 p.m. We'll start with level 1, which will be 5 courses and 5 classes and a final exam and all that good stuff. We'll walk through the book, just the 5 levels, 5 different sections that we talked about. And then I believe after we get done with that first level 1, then we'll go right into level 2, starting in, I believe the next session is in November. We'll start with level 2, where we'll expound upon everything that we taught and take it even to a higher level. So basically, level 1 is just to introduce people to the iChurch method, and level 2 is now let's talk about more effectively utilizing it and helping people establish a much better, a greater church and business presence with technology at the Potter's House. We'll teach. Yes.
Well, 5-week classes and just almost nothing is like what, $30 or $35 for the whole class for those 5 weeks?
Yeah, I want to say I believe it's $25 for the class, it's $20 for the book, and I believe those are all the fees that you have to pay.
Wow, that's really amazing. Lastly, what would you like to leave us with, and how can we find your book?
Oh, definitely. Well, first I would like to leave you with, again, the thing that I continue to say is just understand that technology, even no matter how hard it appears, even whatever the largest corporations are using, there are low cost and efficient ways to utilize that same technology. You just have to research and find it. And if you want to get in touch with me, you can reach me on Twitter at Jason Caston. You can get my book from my website, which is iChurchMethod.com. It's at all your major online retailers, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Apple iBooks. So you can get it anywhere that you want as far as online. And you can reach me at iChurchMethod.com as well.
Perfect. Well, Jason, thank you for joining the program. Thank you so much.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care. Again, it's been another production of the Core Business Show. Tim Jacquet, your host. You download this episode on iTunes and Blog Talk Radio. Everybody, thank you for listening. Have a great day. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet. For more information about equipment financing and asset-based loans, visit our website, applecapitalgroup.com. That's applecapitalgroup.com. Or call us at 866-611-7457. We hope you'll join us for our next episode. And remember, you can always get to the core via iTunes. You'll find all our previous episodes there. And thanks again for listening to the Core Business Show with Tim Jacquet.